So the problem with this message is it's too simple. That's the problem. It's too simple. It's saying there's just what's happening. That's it. That's the whole message. So there's nothing to be done about what's just happening, because anything you do is just going to be what's happening. So you can't escape just what's happening. And what's happening can be pleasant and it can be unpleasant. The thing is, it doesn't mean anything. And for the me, it always means something. This means that means this. Why did he say that? What did she mean by that? But everything is this, so everything is inherently meaningless. And yet, meaning can seem to appear. And if that's what's arising, then that's what's arising. And it's not about getting rid of the me. I want to make that clear. This has nothing to do with getting rid of a me. There already isn't a me. There's just what's appearing. So if a sense of a me or a feeling of a me is appearing, then that's just what's happening. But it doesn't mean a real, live, breathing me is there in the body. As Nkosi says, the body is filled with blood and bones and arteries and organs and all kinds of stuff, but there's no me in the body. And there's no me here, and there's no me there already. Again, there's just what's happening. And that's just too darn simple, because you can't do anything with there's just what's happening. There's nothing to be done about that. Like the me wants to get an angle on that. Okay, there's just what's happening. What does he mean by that? I mean, literally, there's just what's happening. So nodding of your head, scratching, shifting in your chair, the temperature, all of it is the miracle. The miracle is not divided. The miracle doesn't begin and end. Everything's the miracle. Everything is it. The dust, the sky, the stars, dog shit, all of it. I would say that the relaxation comes from somehow the trying can go away. The trying, do you know what I mean by trying? Like there's a sense of efforting, like I'm trying to get this moment right. Like, what is it that I need to do? What will be the best decision? That trying dissolves. And then you're just left with the simplicity of just, like right now, we're just having a little Zoom meeting, little chat. I can hear an airplane flying overhead. I'm sitting in my apartment in West LA. I'm sipping chamomile tea. That's it. Nothing else is happening. So perhaps there's a resonance. There's a resonance there with this message, and it can't be explained. Something in you just says, yes, it's all one. There is no separation. That's it. Because it can't be explained in words.
Michael, you just said you were talking about the trying, like trying to make the miracle happen, otherwise known as often just waiting for the miracle. It's like kind of one or the other. But we can somehow see that waiting for the miracle is the miracle. That it's just always this, and that's all there is. And the whole game of trying and waiting, and which we call the me, really, it's like a particular kind of focusing of a camera. But when it's not focused, that it can get unfocused, or it can get a different focus. Then that trying and that waiting isn't what it seems to be. And it just seems, just the miracle is, which you can see that's all there is. There isn't anything else. There isn't anything coming. There isn't anything ever. Yeah. And then the feeling like waiting for the miracle, can show up, but it's all the miracle. So it's kind of what we're, I think, sort of talking about on Wednesday.
Yeah, so this is an open meeting, meaning everybody's invited to participate. So if you have a comment or question, feel free to unmute and jump in.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds pretty good, Michael, when you describe it as, we're just sitting here and I'm sipping chamomile tea and I can hear an airplane going over. And that's all just this. But what about when I have distressing thoughts come popping into my head? That's all just part of this too, yeah?
Well, that's a great question. So in this moment, right now, because this is all there is there distressing thoughts popping into your head at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, then that's what's happening there.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say.
But what does it mean? Do those distressing thoughts mean anything? And who do they mean to?
Yeah, thank you. No.
Because, you know, the thoughts kind of need you to freak out. You know, they need your reaction. If you don't react, if you go, well, thoughts come and go. I don't come and go. I don't know what I am, but thoughts come and go. And do you ever go anywhere?
Well, I just love how you say about giving meaning to them. If I don't give meaning to them, they don't bother me. I suppose they act, the distressing thoughts activate the me that might have been lying quietly in just this and happy. But yeah, but and then so then instead of my focus, like Dad was talking about, instead of my focus just being on just this, my focus switches and it gets all cloudy with the. Is that what you were at, Dan?
No, that Faith, I have to thank you, because Dan and I were talking yesterday on the phone, and we were talking about something, and you just reminded me of what it is that I said I wanted to mention. Exactly what you're saying, because we were talking about how the attention, that's what you're talking about. Your attention isn't you either, isn't under your control, and isn't you. But we tend to think that where our attention goes, we're doing that. No, it's just happening spontaneously.
Feels like there's like a remembering, and then the attention goes there, like a remembering of just this, or however you want to say it, and then the attention seemingly goes there. But that's also just, even if I get past the word attention, then what's happening, you know? But it seems like there's a remembering. But you're right, I would think, oh, I remembered that, or but I don't think that anymore. I noticed what you're saying happens. It's just like a remembering happens all day long. When there might be thinking happening, to turn attention towards something else.
Yeah, exactly, Jenny. And that isn't you doing that. You're not moving. That's so powerful if that lands for you. Because I'm telling you, there's such a feeling that you're doing your attention. Oh, I put my attention on my thoughts. Now I put it on my coffee. Now I put it on the wall. No, you're not doing anything. I'm not doing anything. These words are just coming. I'm not doing them. I'm not thinking ahead. I'm not trying to, I don't have any notes, nothing up my sleeve.
Yeah, like how could you have control over remembering where to put your attention when it spontaneously comes in your head? That's what's always laughable. I'm trying to like remember things better all the time, but it's like, because you feel so responsible when you forget, but it's like, well, I didn't choose to forget, and I don't know why I remembered when I remembered. So what the heck?
Right. Good, Jenny. Now, the idea that nobody's responsible for anything is pretty, you know, that's not going to fly for most of society. That everything's just spontaneously happening because there's no separation. So
yeah,
like,
whatever you do, don't ever mention on a date that they don't have responsibility or power or control over their own lives. It doesn't go well. I did it.
It's good if you want to get out of jury duty.
Hey, Michael, where does it fall in that if, let's say if I say something like, I want to put my attention on my breathing right now, you know, or the sunset, how does that fit in? Because I mean, we can say it's though that there's a spontaneity behind that movement. I guess everything you're saying is just still spontaneous. Even if I say right now I'm going to watch my breath, you're saying that, well, that still came out of spontaneity, right?
Exactly. You got it. You answered your own question. Beautiful.
You channeled it to me.
Yeah. Well, what you saw, Alan, is you can't get ahead of it. Like you can't, outthink the attention. It's going to go. So, and sometimes they're in sync and sometimes they're not. I know just what you're saying. You could say, well, I'd like to meditate. And then you find yourself sitting down to meditate. So it's a very strong story that I did that. I wanted to meditate. I had the intention to meditate. And look, I'm meditating. So I did that. Well,
Yeah, but it's a good point, because obviously there are things, there's an aspect of this where that we do have, an experience of being able to control and put my attention here, do things intentionally. But that's just kind of a little story inside of a much bigger story, which is the whole thing. So, and really, attention is moving all the time and going here and there, just the same way, you don't know what car is going to come up the street next, or when, or which way, how the wind is going to blow. It's just all going, and this doesn't care where the attention goes. It doesn't make any difference. The attention is just moving, and everything's moving, and
nothing's moving.
Yeah, ultimately nothing is moving. So all the moving and moving and moving is just nothing moving.
What was moving here while you had the conversation was about a year ago or so, I tried to make a case that I have free will to pick up a glass of water. And it triggered this kind of same discussion, because at the time, there was like a conviction that I decided to move my hand and grab the glass, and I no longer defend that position, though.
Peter, you're not going to believe this, but I brought that example up yesterday to Dan during our phone call.
Wow.
That exact example. And do you remember what I said to you?
Not exactly. No.
So you picked up the glass and you said, well, Michael, look, I did this. I picked up the glass. And I said to you, okay, but why didn't you pick up the pen?
Wow. What a recall. Amazing. I recall the situation quite well. Exactly. But it tied into a very deep-seated conviction that there is free will. And, for a decade or two, that was like the going paradigm. Be responsible. We create our own reality, use I statements. So I really drilled that and really absorbed and identified with that.
Yeah, well, that's 99% of the population.
But there's a little further we can go into this, because why are we talking about this? I want to have I want to be able to control my actions, and control my attention, because I'm trying to get things done. I'm trying to make this work. Trying to make this, have this, my experience change to be what I want it to be. It's not okay for me. It's not okay the way it is. And I have this muscle. It feels like I can control things, and I can do stuff, and I can make it better. I can make it okay. And, that is a fairy story. It's not true. And it's a continual, program for suffering, closed loop.
Yeah, can I just jump in here, Dan?
Yeah, go ahead, jump.
Yeah, I was going to say it is suffering, because when I was a kid, do you guys remember, I'm old enough, some of you may remember, there was a thing called a water wiggle. by Whammo. Water wiggled. You screwed it onto your garden hose, and it was a yellow hose, and at the top of it, it had like this orange head. And because of the power of the hose, the water would shoot out into the orange head, and it was completely unpredictable and uncontrollable. You would just run out in the lawn, try and catch it, and the thing would be just flying all over the place. And you could just never, predict. And it was so frustrating, and if you finally did grab it, you felt like, that was the golden ring, meanwhile, the thing's like whacking you in the head and stuff. And so that's what I'm saying about the idea that I have control. Imagine trying to have control over something that you don't. That's going to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's frustrating because it's an illusion. It's based on an idea that there's something really good that can happen, and I can do something to make, help it happen. And then there's other things that are not good. And that's the thing, that's the illusion. Because there ain't nothing happening, first of all. There's just this. All the things that that appear to be happening don't actually, they're not actually better or worse. And in other words, there's just this. There isn't something good that can happen. and all of that is part of the story of me. And of course, I'm totally involved and engaged in the story and in trying to make the story happen, in the right way. But that's the illusion. There's nothing, this is what's happening. And it's just as good as it is, as it can be, but it's not. The better and worse business is all part of a story that isn't true. So anyway.
The ultimate example of control and not control is dying, the dying of the body. Civilization, or most people, they just don't want to die. And yet, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, that's another way of saying what the me is. It's just, it's a game of, let me not die. That's what the me is trying to do. Try not to die, or try not to be dead, really, because the me is already dead.
Yeah, you can think of it. The me, a synonym is time. Time. The me is time-based. It is time. And that speaks to what you're saying, Peter, because it knows at some level that, because it knows, it's seen that death, sooner or later, the body will drop. It's unavoidable. And because time has a beginning and an end, it seems scary to the me. But the message here at our meetings is that you're not in time. What you actually are is timeless.
Yeah, you could say the me knows that it's going to die, but you could also say that in a way it like has, blocked, I was going to say, it knows and it doesn't know. It like blocks that perception out, because it's like, okay, on the one hand, I know I'm going to die, but on the other hand, I'm really here trying to live forever, basically, and make this, last forever and get better and better, and, just be eternal. It's both at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's a conflict that's constantly felt, because the me is dualism, and it's trying to go in two directions at once, always.
Yeah.
With
Joe,
everything.
Oh, sorry. Joey, were you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say something earlier, but it all ties into this. Is one thing in my endless seeking, like you all can share the same story too. When I was doing Advaita Vedanta, and they were talking about the Brahman, that it was impersonal. And I always remember every time I heard that word impersonal, I was like, the little voice in the head was like, God, that's so rude, like impersonal. How can God or all that is be impersonal? It's so insulting. And but then the blessing of this radical non-duality message is I think that word impersonal doesn't get mentioned enough. It's kind of like when they say you can say apparently after every word. I would add impersonal after every word, because it's hard for us not to be, not to really think of ourselves as a thing, a human, which we don't, that's just a sound. We don't even know what that means. But this impersonal, I find it very endearing, because there's just nothing personal ever that's ever taken place. And even right now, it's kind of nice to be this unknowable, indescribable. So I just wanted to share that word impersonal is always taking place. And I used to think it was such a horrific word. Every time the monk would say that, it would just the me would be like, that doesn't sound like love.
It reminds me of people telling me, why do you take everything so personal? Or don't take this so personal.
Yeah,
and I would get so mad.
Yeah.
I said, it is personal, man.
Yeah. It really, it's such a trigger word, because the sense of individuality is completely personal.
But it reminds me of my days with the Christian people, and God is taking a personal interest in you, and that you need to have a personal relationship with me.
Yeah. So now it's just funny how that just a concept, but that word impersonal is really with this message. Now it's just I often sometimes say it as a little mantra, like.
Yeah, thanks, Joey. I like that, and I think the impersonal matches up with the having no control.
Yeah, it's just what's happening, and it's impersonal. It's an impersonal happening, and it's always an impersonal happening. That individual doesn't like that. It's always grabbing that ownership and torturing itself, not knowingly, but just we're all in this washing machine, but it's completely impersonal.
Well, it's like the individual creates an alternate universe with me at the center of it. And that's my personal world that I live in, but it's completely imaginary. So it's actually pretty nice to have that blow up and see, oh, there's actually a world here, that's not personal, and it's not bad.
Well, when you view the world like that, if you're this person, there's a heavy responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah.
And the no control and impersonal relieves that and lets me take a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you could say that heavy responsibility is like what the whole world is suffering from, Of course, it's not happening. It's not really true, but it's a pretty heavy story.
And it's all taken personally. It's all individualized. Yeah. Very heavy, very heavy, very heavy. And even little children, if they did something right, they'll say, I did it. But if they did something wrong, they don't want to, they just silent, or maybe they'll blame someone or just be quiet. But versus just letting it all go, like it's just completely impersonal.
Well, probably little kids, well, I don't know. I was going to say little kids are more impersonal. They learn how to be personal very quickly, but I don't know. I don't know if that's really true. Anyway.
What goes into this story is the other side of being responsible is being the victim. Things happen to us. Other people do it to us.
Yeah.
You used the word, Michael, earlier that you actually used a lot in the past. I haven't heard it much lately, but it's sort of the other side of impersonal, or the other side of personal, which is undivided. You said it a little bit earlier, and I think I know you say wholeness a lot too, but undivided, at least for me, is a very powerful concept because it throws you out of the individuality, right? I mean, when you think of undivided, I mean, that's everything. So anyway, I just thought it was a really cool word. And I had one other metaphor I was thinking about while you guys were talking, which is the wind is another great metaphor for impersonal. I mean, the wind, it's going to go left, right, up, or down based on whatever it wants to do. And it's always doing it, always. And so if you can maybe meditate on being the wind, and that can help kind of break out of that idea of being in that individual space. And also it goes hand in hand with that the word spontaneity that you brought up earlier too, that it's just spontaneously, it's just always moving. And you talk about the opposite of control, right?
Well, Alan, you said something a few weeks ago that, and I think I'd already been practicing like stepping aside from yourself and looking through you at the world as an observer. And then what I go about doing is the world is a butterfly net trying to catch you in your air.
Mm.
So you're just flowing through the world as air. Just observing.
Yeah.
Or it's a butterfly net trying to catch itself.
The reason I like the wind is not that look, whatever lands for you anyway, which is great, Leighton, but even with the net, I mean, it's all semantics, but it's the idea that there's still like this form, right, that you're still seeping through it, which is great. The reason I love the wind is it feels even more open in that there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's not even a net, which does have holes in it, which is spacious too. But that's why I like things like the wind or stepping back out of you know, the self, so to speak, because it feels completely boundless. I mean, that's just something I focus a lot on now, is boundlessness and formlessness. It's as we keep talking about tonight, it's the unnameable.
Yeah, well, wind is like a metaphor for spirit or energy. So you can really think of the whole, everything as just moving wind or spirit moving in different ways, different forms of it, you know, interacting, playing, and just moving or trying to catch itself. Yeah. I mean, we have, you know, who knows? I mean, it's great we can describe it this way, but really at some point we just have to say, well, we can't even say what it is.
Yeah, we could say that the miracle is undivided. So that's why it's already everything. The siren, the house, the cars, the people. The miracle is everything, however it's appearing.
And then of course the mind comes in and divides everything up and gives everything a name and a label, and then tells a story about how everything, you know, plays together and what happens. But then that's just the wind moving. So we never get anywhere. We're always just the wind moving, or just whatever. The nothingness being everything.
I'm interested. A girlfriend of mine, a dear girlfriend of mine, has recently been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, with dementia. And that's got me thinking. I'm interested to know if anyone has any thoughts about what happens what happens to the me when people get dementia? I think that's my question. Something about, yeah, what's the me up? What happens to the me? The me would be not such a problem if you're suffering with dementia. Yeah, no. Alice is laughing at me.
What came up, Faith, is two things. I have people here in my neighborhood who go through that process. So I'm interacting with that. The first thought was, well, what we're talking about here is that there is no me. Now, but I understand what you're saying is, and what I would say, thinking of this person that I've been following, there is less of a sense of a me. It seems like the degenerative process in the brain is somehow diffusing the sense of the me.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
However, just to as an ad, as a PS, she is unable to function. She needs assistance.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's an illustration of how the me fits into the scheme of things as in our life on earth as a person. Alice, I can't hear you, my darling.
Thank you. The reason I was laughing is because it just kind of occurred to me, yep, they're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Well, in some ways, we can look at it as going back to a childhood or infant state, or regressing to that place in a way.
Yeah.
Although, who knows? It's more of the mystery. We don't ever know how things are going to be.
Well, it sort of proves that you need that paradox. You need that, the me operating as well as the non-me, or what. That's how we get through life. But that's how we function in a normal way.
Hi, Nkosi, welcome.
Hi, Coach.
Nkosi.
Hi, Michael. Hello, everyone.
We're just discussing how the miracle is undivided.
An afterthought, Faith.
Yes.
We often, here we kind of celebrate the fact that there is no me, and it's experienced as a liberation and freedom and so on. And the example that the theme that you started, and I'm hesitant to say this, also shows that there is a whole slew of challenges coming along when that aspect of the me is gone, and a person, it's a big problem how to manage the body. And I know a lot of people make the case and say, oh, don't worry, it's taking care of itself. It's, you're still going to eat and so on and so forth. However, when the person pees on the living room floor every night, and there is some practical challenges coming when the body stops functioning, that aspect of the body mind stops functioning.
Thank you.
So even the me is the miracle, because the miracle is undivided. So if there's a sense of a me there or not is irrelevant. It's all the miracle appearing as everything.
Yeah. There is no division at all. There is no division. No. No, everything is this. Everything is this. Even what seems to be the me is just this expressing as that. So there isn't any division, you know. Somebody who seems to be sick, it's just everything expressing as that. So there isn't any real somebody, separate somebody who's sick. It's just everything. So there's no division. There's no division at all. As you have said, the miracle is undivided. You know, it's just one thing. You know, even what seems to be happening right now, there isn't anybody who's separate, who's talking to a certain group of people. It's just everything happening. It doesn't matter the opinion that may seem to arise. It doesn't matter the question. It's just everything expressing as that. So there's no separate thing. There's no division. There's no separate thing that stands out alone. It's just everything expressing. So it doesn't really matter the opinion that may seem to arise. It's just everything having an opinion. It's not, it cannot be a certain individual or a certain somebody who has a great opinion, a beautiful opinion. It's just everything expressing as that. So here it is seen that there's just everything. So it doesn't really matter what anyone may seem to say. You know, any opinion cannot in a way touch this, cannot change this. If somebody says, oh, there's nothing like this, or the other one may say, oh, there's just this, it doesn't touch this. It's just this. It's just the way it is. It's not moving. It's not changing. It's not trying to do anything. It's not going anywhere. It's just here. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, let me say. So it is a miracle. It is a miracle because everything seems to be happening by itself. Everything is just happening. No, there's no doer. There's no actual doer who's making anything to happen. The doer is already not there. The me will never collapse. The me will never fall away because there isn't a me, any me in the first place. It's just everything. So the me is not already. So it's not to say it's wrong to talk about it or it's right. It's just what's happening. But the bottom line is there's no me already. It's just everything. So everything is beautiful. Every expression is beautiful. Every opinion is beautiful. Somebody who appears to be sick, there may be someone who may help, pray, or for that one to be healed. Or that one may even go to see the doctor. It's just everything expressing as that. So there's no separation. There's no division. There's no dividing line. It's just everything. What seems to be the doer is just everything appearing. There's no actual real doer of anything here. And somebody says, I did this, I did that. That's just everything saying that any question arises from everything, yes, everything. Any opinion, any suggestion, frustration, anger, not getting it, a sense of not getting it, a sense of getting it, a sense of losing it. It's just everything. Expressing is that. So there isn't anything wrong or right here. It's just what seems to be happening. And what seems to be happening is not personal, because there isn't any person here that is happening to. And here there are no stories. What seems to be stories may seem to be in the past. It doesn't even exist. The stories are always in the past, imaginary past. Because the story can never be found here. Where is the story here? Where are the stories? Where are the stories? There are no stories here. There's nothing here. There's no here even. It's just what is. So I can say there's nothing happening. Nothing ever happened. It may appear as if it's Wednesday, but if you can look, there's no Wednesday here. Wednesday is imaginary. There's no Wednesday. Where is Wednesday? There's nothing here. Well, to me, it's Thursday. To others, it's Wednesday. To some, maybe it's Friday. So those are just labels. There's nothing here.
And that's why there's no me, because there's no place for a me to be.
Yes. Beautiful. So what seems to be the me has never done anything, has never said anything, because it's not already.
Yes, because there's only the miracle.
I can't do anything because whatever I do would only be a story in the past or in the future. All the doing is just the story of the past or the future. But what is doesn't have anyone to do and nothing to do, because it's just here. It's just what is. Can't be grasped. Can't be. There's no place to do anything. No place to be or no place to do. All the doing is just in the story of past and future. And what I know. But no one knows what this is.
I was really caught up in the story on Monday night, just spinning it. And I'm so lucky I called Nkosi. I didn't want to share it with another friend or rehearse it like that. I wanted the truth about it. And anyway, he just totally let me say my story, whatever I needed to say. And it was such a, I don't even know, such a smooth transition somehow from that story to the truth. And after a half an hour, I was just feeling so free of it. And it wasn't that he would just say, well, everything is this, or just some words that would kind of cut off my story, because I was really believing in it. But there's just a soft way to bring it over. I don't know how to say that, but there's certain words that don't make me feel cut off from the story, and yet they move me into the truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
and
does.
I so appreciate that. Yeah, thank you, Nkosi.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Alice, you had reported that to me, that what happened for you, and the way that I viewed it was that Nkosi made space for the story,
Yeah.
where sometimes I think in the non-dual community we don't make space and allow the story. Because the story can be there at the same time, can't it? It's just part of this too. So I feel like making room for this, making room and the space for the story is a gift that we can give each other. I don't know. What do you think, Cassie?
Yeah, the story itself, it is just this expressing as a story. So it's not to say it's wrong or right. It's just this expressing as a story. So there's no story. It's just this already. To say it's a story is just a label. Everything is this. There's no separation. So here, what seems to be the story, when it seems to be like going on or happening, it doesn't really mind. Yeah, doesn't really mind. The story is okay, it's beautiful, because there's no story.
And there's no division. So, I mean, this is a story. We're all telling the story of the Zoom meeting and the conversation, and Wednesday evening or Thursday morning or whatever. It's all no division.
There is no need to argue with the story or to label it as a story. We could just leave it alone and see it as an expression of what is.
Yeah, Peter. I like the way you said that. That I think that in my head I can get caught up into thinking it's wrong. It's wrong to have a story going on, and I'm sort of pushing the story away. So to make space for the story as well as part of this is lovely. Mm.
Yeah, then you don't have to push it away. You know,
Mm.
it's when it has space, it just flows.
Mm.
We're all a story being told by no one,
Mm.
to no one.
All stories are empty.
And full.
Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Are you guys insinuating that God doesn't play favorites? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming. We appreciate and love all of you. Thank you, Nkosi, as
Thank you,
always.
Nkosi. Thank you, Mike.
Everybody, have a great evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Have a good
everybody.
night.
Good week.
Bye.